but rather based on luck. Incompetence without consequence builds confidence. Those who have attended my situational awareness programs, where I share the lessons of brain science to improve high-risk decision-making, have heard me share this lesson numerous times in the context of worksite casualty incidents. Stay tuned. Coming up, we explore the challenges workers face while operating in dynamically changing conditions that require shared attention to multiple concurrent activities. In other words, multitasking. But first, let's hear from our amazing sponsor, Midwest Fire. At Midwest Fire, they know better efficiency results in less waste, and it adds value to every truck they deliver. That's why they have worked hard to implement lean manufacturing processes throughout their factory. Lean manufacturing means a lower cost to build, with the savings passed on to you. To learn more, visit MidwestFire.com. Hello and welcome to the Situational Awareness Matters Show, episode 346. I'm your host, Rich Cassaway. The purpose of this show is to improve situational awareness and decision-making for individuals and teams who work in high-risk, high-consequence, time-compressed environments with changing conditions. The SA Matters mission is simple. We want to help you see the bad things coming in time to prevent bad outcomes. Today's feature segment is sponsored by Gasaway Virtual Training. There are 33 online training programs for you to choose from. Some of the programs are live events presented virtually, and some of the programs are pre-recorded. To learn more, visit samatters.com website and click on the Virtual Training tab. Okay, let's jump into today's feature segment as we explore the challenges workers face while operating in dynamically changing conditions that required shared attention to multiple concurrent activities. In other words, multitasking. Can humans multitask? The answer is yes and no. Okay, in reality, the answer is it depends. The subconscious brain can multitask, but the conscious brain cannot. What does that mean for you? It means if you're performing an automatic scripted routine that has been memorized and resides in the subconscious programming of your brain, you can perform several of those types of tasks at the same time. So subconsciously, you can multitask. However, if you're performing a new or novel task that is not part of your automatic scripted subconscious routines, then you must perform that task consciously. And the conscious brain can only perform one task at a time. So consciously, you cannot multitask. While it can be dangerous and deceptive to compare the human brain to a computer, please allow me the latitude to make a rudimentary analogy. When your computer is running, it's performing multiple behind-the-scenes functions, like maintaining an internet connection, while protecting your computer from viruses, while downloading new emails as they arrive. For the most part, unless you open a particular application, you don't even know it's performing these functions. They're happening automatically. Or in brain parlance, they're happening subconsciously. However, you can only work on one application on your desktop, on your computer, at a time. You can create a Word document, or you can input data into an Excel spreadsheet, or you can construct an email. But you can only do one of those things at a time. It's impossible for you to do them all simultaneously. And this is where multitaskers will become agitated and say, "That's not true. I can do all three. All I have to do is size the windows so that each program can be seen on the same screen, and then I can do all three at the same time." No, you can't. And this is where you get tricked into thinking that you can. Think about the process of creating a Word document. or inputting data into an Excel spreadsheet, or constructing an email. No matter how hard you try, you would only be doing one of those tasks at a time. Now, you may switch back and forth from one task to the other very rapidly, giving the appearance that you're multitasking, but in fact, you're only single tasking in rapid succession. And this is what your brain does when you are performing multiple conscious tasks, and it gives you the appearance that you are multitasking. Science even has a name for this. It's called interleaving. When you're performing multiple conscious tasks at the same time, what your brain is really doing is switching attention from one conscious task to another and then back to the first task. But there's some good news in all of this. Your brain can do that switching very quickly. In fact, it only takes about 25 hundredths of a second for your brain to switch attention between two conscious tasks. The risk is the more often your brain switches between conscious tasks, the greater your vulnerability for forgetting exactly where it is that you left off on the previous task. And while your conscious attention is focused on one task, some part of the other task may be changing, especially if you're in a dynamically changing work environment, like driving a car. If your work environment is dynamic and changing, research has demonstrated that you are 50% more likely to forget where you left off and 50% more likely to miss critical clues and cues while your attention is being subverted to the alternate task. Functional MRI, or fMRI, images of the brain have proven that multitasking conscious tasks is a myth. Researchers have wired subjects to monitoring equipment and had them perform a conscious task, observing on a computer screen which brain cells handle that task. Then the researchers had the subject stop the first task and perform a second task, again recording which brain cells handle the alternate task. Under the belief that while multitasking, performing both tasks at the same time, the brain cells that handle each task would fire simultaneously. And the researchers were shocked because that didn't happen. Ever. What happened is the cells used to handle one task lit up on the computer screen while task one was being performed. When the test subject stopped performing task one and started performing task two, the first brain cells went silent and the brain cells for handled the task number two lit up. When attention shifted back to task number one, the brain cells handling task number two went silent. And this happens back and forth in rapid succession. But at no time did the two groups of cells light up simultaneously, thus proving scientifically the brain does not perform multiple conscious tasks simultaneously. Rather, like your ability to only perform one task at a time on a computer through rapid succession, so does your brain perform one conscious task at a time through rapid succession. Besides the potential disastrous effects of forgetting where you left off and missing critical clues and cues, there's another potential catastrophic pitfall here. It can occur when you are performing multiple subconscious tasks and a single conscious task simultaneously, which your brain can do. One of the best examples I can offer is driving a vehicle. Let's say an experienced driver is motoring down the highway at 60 miles per hour. While they're doing that, they're talking on their cell phone. Now, this is not a practice that I would recommend for reasons that will become abundantly clear in a moment. Now, because in the state where this person resides, their lawmakers, in their infinite wisdom, have passed a law that requires the use of cell phones while driving be hands-free. So the driver in our example is using an earpiece. This ensures they're abiding by the letter of the law and being safer. Right? Hardly. Earpiece or no earpiece, the driver is still multitasking and splitting attention between competing conscious tasks. But this multitasking is different, right? An experienced driver can operate a vehicle using their subconscious programming. They know this to be true because they have personal experience. On numerous occasions, they've driven to a destination, arrived safely, only to realize they had no recall of a portion of their trip because they were zoned out, which is layman's terms for saying that their brain was driving the vehicle using subconscious programming while their conscious brain was focused on something other than the act of driving. It is factual that an experienced driver can operate a vehicle mostly using subconscious programming. The problem is, the more this is done successfully, the more likely that a driver is to forget that they are operating in a very dangerous dynamic environment where things can change quickly. An environment where the processing of clues and cues of changing conditions is a constant requirement. But they're good at it. They know this because they've never had an accident. So long as everything about the trip stays routine, they'll probably be able to get away with doing this form of multitasking without consequence. But let's say that while they're driving and talking on their cell phone, another inattentive driver, probably talking on their cell phone, doesn't see the first driver coming and pulls right out in front of them. At that instant, the driving the vehicle switches from being a scripted, subconscious, routine task to being a very unscripted and very non-routine conscious task. The driver is on a collision course and must react, and there's no time to spare. Their brain switches its conscious attention from talking on the cell phone to reacting to the situation and the immediate action needed to avoid an accident. The switch in attention, as I noted previously, only takes about 25 hundredths of a second. Remember, that's really fast. Before the driver can react, their brain has to take in the visual stimuli, the other vehicle, process that information, stop thinking about the cell phone conversation, meaning those brain cells need to stop functioning, and the brain cells that tell the driver how to react to the obstacle that is now in front of them needs to get to work. Again, this only takes about a quarter of a second. The problem is, at 60 miles per hour, this driver's vehicle will travel 22 feet before their brain even registers the fact that another car has pulled out in front of them. This is the cognitive part of reaction time. The brain still needs to tell the muscles what to do, and they have to act appropriately. Be it swerve or slam on the brakes, and that adds to reaction time. As we bring these lessons to the worksite, we can begin to understand how much risk is associated with the belief that a person can consciously perform multiple tasks simultaneously. Research further suggests that the more stimulus-rich the multitasking environment is, in other words, multiple visual and audible stimuli in the environment, the slower the response to refocus conscious attention can be to shift to another task. Let's go back to the driving example. Some people who are critical of cell phone laws might argue that talking on a cell phone while driving is the same as talking to someone who's sitting next to you in the car while driving, carrying on a conversation. On the surface, that appears to be a plausible argument until you break down what's happening in the process of audible information processing. If you have a passenger in your car and you're carrying on a conversation and someone pulls out in front of you, the conversation is going to halt immediately because both of you are consciously aware of the dire circumstances that you're facing. It's important to point out this does not speed up the brain's required 25 hundredths of a second to switch attention. That stays the same. However, if someone is talking to you on your cell phone and another car pulls out in front of you, the person on the other end of the call, who is completely unaware of what is happening, keeps talking. And for a few extra nanoseconds, your brain will keep listening to the person on the other end of the phone. And this slows down your reaction time. The same thing happens on the work site. In a stimulus-rich environment where there are many things to see and hear, most of which will not cease at the moment you need to refocus your attention on something else. This will, as in the previous example, slow reaction time. The solution starts with avoiding the belief that you can effectively perform multiple conscious tasks simultaneously. Denial of these scientifically proven facts will not make you an effective multitasker. It will only make you more vulnerable. Let me explain how. When you do something incompetent, whatever that would be, in this case, multitasking conscious tasks, there's a good chance that you might get away with it. In other words, you're lucky and you avoid a bad outcome. If you're lucky enough to get away with it, then that will give you the confidence to try it again. The second time you perform that incompetent task, conscious multitasking, you are lucky enough to get away with it again and have another good outcome. This again gives you more confidence, which allows you to believe that you're good at it. And so begins the spiraling, dangerous cycle of accidental success, not based on skill, but rather based on luck. Incompetence without consequence builds confidence. Those who have attended my situational awareness programs, where I share the lessons of brain science to improve high-risk decision-making, have heard me share this lesson numerous times in the context of worksite casualty incidents. Unfortunately, by thinking that you are a good multitasker, having successfully done it without consequence so many times, you develop a level of confidence that may lead to catastrophe. Don't be fooled by your lucky outcomes, whether that's been while driving and talking on your cell phone or while multitasking on the work site. After awareness of your vulnerabilities, what else can you do to reduce the pitfalls of multitasking in stimulus-rich environments? The next thing you can do is practice and develop your job skills so they become subconscious, automatic, scripted routines. As you practice your job skills in training in realistic simulations, the ability to perform them will convert to subconscious programmed skills, like driving does. It's very important, however, to continue practicing these skills, or the ability to perform them using subconscious programming may deteriorate. The next thing you can do is memorize scripts that represent a task list. For example, if asked to say your ABCs forward as fast as possible, the average person can successfully accomplish this task in about 1.5 to 2.5 seconds, depending on whether they stop to take a breath. It's an automatic, memorized, subconscious routine. However, ask someone to say their ABCs backwards as fast as they can and watch what happens. Unless they've rehearsed and memorized it, you will witness an amazing display of the difference between subconscious performance of an automatic task and the conscious performance of a novel task. The task of saying ABCs backwards can take up to 50 times longer to get the task completed. And the person who does it is many more times likely to make mistakes and to make the same mistake over and over again. They may even become so angry and frustrated that they give up on the task altogether. I've conducted this experiment many times in my programs with the results that prove what I'm saying. The last thing I recommend, which I acknowledge is not always possible on a work site, but it's not impossible either, is to share your mental workload. The more conscious tasks you can share with someone else, the less likely you are to fall victim of multitasking errors. The issue of multitasking in dynamic environments is very common. Unfortunately, from the perspective of validated scientific research, we're just starting to measure and understand the risks of multitasking in dynamic environments. Currently, researchers, including those at the NASA Ames Research Center Human Factors Division, are studying these issues for the benefit of airline pilots. Hopefully, the results will be scientifically validated solutions that can be applied to the job that you do. Since 2007, SA Matters instructors have helped more than 1,200 organizations and 87,000 individuals improve high-risk decision-making, including first responders, industrial workers, military personnel, business leaders, medical professionals, utility workers, highway workers, aviation workers, oil refinery operators, and more. If you or someone you care about works in a high-stress, high-consequence, decision-making environment, then we are here to help to improve their safety and their survival, and to help them accomplish the most important mission of all, and that's to go home to the ones who love them. Since the start of the pandemic, I've had some amazing opportunities to present on programs on a virtual platform for groups ranging from 6 to 400. Recently, I had the honor to present to Red Deer Emergency Services in Alberta and the University of Maryland's EMS degree program students. And just when I thought we were making the turn on the pandemic and getting back to delivering live programs, we've had a setback. Two of the agencies I was going to present live sessions for in November have postponed due to a spike in COVID outbreaks in their departments. So the Clark County Fire District Number 6 and Anchorage Fire Department programs will be conducted sometime in 2021. Coming up on November 24th, I'll be jointly presenting a situational awareness and thermal imaging virtual program with Andy Starnes from Insight Training. And I'll put a link in the show notes for that program if you're interested in attending. On December 8th, I will be in La Crosse, Wisconsin, doing the Leaders Toolbox, building tomorrow's leaders today for the officers of the La Crosse Fire Department. Thank you to the organizations that have allowed me to offer your members virtual training, and a special thanks to the 44 agencies who postponed programs in 2020 and are patiently waiting to reschedule. If you're interested in hosting a virtual program or a live event when the pandemic makes the turn, just click on the Contact Us tab at the top of the SA Matters homepage, and I'll give you a call. Remember to check out the show notes for how to subscribe to our newsletter and how to follow us on social media. There we're sharing ideas about how to improve situational awareness, how to make better decisions under stress, and how to improve the skills of critical thinking and resilient problem solving. Well, that's it. Episode 346 of the Situational Awareness Matters show is complete. Thank you to our amazing platinum sponsor for almost 7 years now, Midwest Fire. Thank you to our feature segment sponsor, Gasaway Virtual Training. Thank you to our associate sponsor, Chief Miller. And most importantly, thank you, the listeners and viewers of this show, for sharing some of your valuable time with me today. I really appreciate your support of the SA Matters mission. Be safe out there, and may the peace of the Lord and strong situational awareness be with you always.
You've been listening to the Situational Awareness Matters show with Dr. Richard Gasaway. If you're interested in learning more about situational awareness, human factors, and decision-making under stress, visit his website, samatters.com. If you're interested in booking Dr. Gasaway for a program, or if you would like to be a guest on his show, click the Contact Us tab at the top of the homepage.